All right, good evening. Welcome to Retire Japan TV. This is season 2, our second episode. I'm really excited to welcome Simran onto the show. I've been wanting to talk to her for ages after I found her Twitter account. And the thing that makes it stand out for me is the kind of documentation of riding interesting trains in Japan. So not the Shinkansen, which everyone knows about, but rather the kind of limited express exotic things with, viewing cars and awesome little cabins that you can have and all sorts of things. So I'm really jealous and I want to go into that. And also I discovered afterwards Simran's actually working as an actuary in Tokyo. And while I've heard the job actuary, I wasn't entirely sure what it was. So we're going to go into that as well. But first of all, thank you very much for joining us, Simran. It's great to have you here. And just start us off. Could you give us a little bit of background about yourself? Where are you from? When did you come to Japan?
So I'm from Canada. I came to Japan 9 years ago from Toronto. I used to live in Osaka for 1.5 years, and then I moved to Tokyo afterwards to work as an actuary. The reason I came here was to kind of take a career break. I thought I would live in Japan for a year, maybe 1.5 years, and then go back to Canada and work as an actuary there. But I ended up liking it more than I expected. So then I applied to jobs in Tokyo, ended up getting them unexpectedly, and I'm still here.
Were you an actuary before you came to Japan then?
Yes, so I was. I had just graduated from university in Canada. I was working as an actuary for about 2 years before I moved to Japan. So I did have some experience back home already. And then I trained with a Japanese tutor to try and do interviews in Japanese, and somehow I managed to get in.
Nice. Actually, that's so common that I came here for 1 or 2 years. Like that's exactly what I did. I came here for 2 years, and 23 years later, I'm still here. So when you first came, was it as a kind of gap year kind of thing? Was it travel?
Yeah, so I was actually teaching English in Osaka. The English teaching company was recruiting in Toronto, so I kind of thought that would be a good way just to experience living abroad for a bit. I was teaching at a university in Kyoto for a little bit, teaching business English. And then I intended to go back, but here I am. Time passes by.
That is really cool. I guess it helps to have that kind of specialization that's quite rare. So you're working for a Japanese company?
I'm actually working for a Canadian company. And before that, I used to work for an American company and a Dutch company.
Wow. Variety of experience.
Okay. So, put us out of our misery. What does an actuary do?
An actuary can do many things. Most people think it involves a lot of math. My day-to-day doesn't actually involve that much math, actually. But basically, I build and design mathematical models to value financial products, specifically insurance products. So I could be working on a model to calculate reserves or profit or premiums that insurance holders pay. Basically, it's just a lot of calculations around insurance products.
Okay, so you're in the back office, as it were, of the insurance company.
Yes.
Okay, nice. So that is basically a lot of kind of computer modeling, I guess?
Yeah, most of it involves Excel, as people might expect, but also I do a lot of programming. I use R and SAS and VBA, and basically write a lot of code to build models.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Oh, God.
Is that shifting to machine learning and AI at the moment? Or
it kind of is. Machine learning will help us with our predictions, but we still need humans to build these models and basically determine whether the predictions are as we expect or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's a typical day like for you? So do you still go to the office? Can you work from home? Is it?
I can actually work from home the majority of the time. I have a female boss, which is really rare. There's not that many female actuaries in Japan. She has little kids, so she likes flexibility, and so she gives us flexibility as well. So we go in about once a week, assuming her kids are not sick. In that case, we might not go at all. Basically, I might start my day with ad hoc tasks. People have emailed me a bunch of questions saying we need data on this product, or we need to know why a bunch of customers lapsed their product in the previous month. And so then I find that data, or I build a model to do that. And then I might do some regular reporting depending on the time of the month. So the beginning of the month, we usually do financial reporting for the previous month. And then I might work on some long-term projects, like I am in the experience analysis team, which means we monitor what's been happening to our products month on month. Have customers been purchasing them? Have they been lapsing them, basically like canceling their insurance or not? What kind of people buy the products? Is there a certain demographic or age group or a certain area? So I do analyses based on that.
Okay. And are you involved with designing new products at all? Like,
yeah, so there are different teams, and I was on the product development team at a previous company, so I would help design new products. All of that was pretty exciting, but also pretty challenging because all the documentation is in Japanese, so that's an added layer of challenge for me.
wow.
You said there are not. Sorry, you said there are not many female actuaries. Do you think that's an issue with the insurance industry, or is it a more sort of general lack of equality in professional industry, full stop?
I think it's a cultural issue here. Like most, as you may know, there's not many women that attend universities like Todai. There are not many women that want to pursue that level of education or those kinds of fields of work because they're already male dominated. And the first female Japanese actuary who got fully qualified was working at my previous company. And she said she was able to get qualified because her parents supported her education and she didn't get married. If she had gotten married, it's possible that her husband would have wanted her to quit her job, or companies may not have hired her in the first place. Unfortunately, in a lot of companies, especially Japanese ones, there's still discrimination against women reaching these kinds of positions, and they assume that if you get married, you're going to quit, so they don't want to hire you in the first place. I work for a foreign company, so that's not as big of a problem here, but there's still like not that many women, and the women that are here are mostly foreigners like myself.
Well, so it's not just discrimination against women, it's women plus married. Is it like even more discriminated against?
Yeah, it's just until like the cultural shift happens where companies are willing to hire women in higher positions and not discriminate against them if they're getting married or having kids. And if, well, I feel like women need to feel like they can do those kinds of things and also succeed in relationships and, you know, get married if they want to. And it seems like the cultural problem is that they feel that men won't like them if they're in certain levels of education. And that was kind of the common phrase like around people going to Todai, like men at Todai don't want to date women at Todai for whatever reason. So
there's also that thing where the university was changing the scores for women, wasn't it? So it was,
yeah,
it was
there
like
was
20% harder to get in as a woman as a man, which is crazy.
That was pretty shocking, yeah. But in Canada, my program was 50-50. Like there were quite a few women. When I was working in Canada, there were plenty of female managers and so on. So I never felt that kind of shift until I came here. And then it was a little bit of a shock for me, being like, oh, actually I'm a minority in this field, not just as a foreigner, but as a female. And everyone's a little bit surprised when they see women going to conferences and so on, because it's mostly men in suits. And then there's like maybe 5 or 6 women also sitting there. We get a few stares.
Do you think it's improved at all?
Like,
pardon?
Sorry. Oh, do you think it's changing at all? Like, have you got younger people coming in, or?
There are a few younger people, but they are still mostly foreign. So there might be some new graduates that actually came from the Philippines, you know, people from Malaysia and other, like a lot of these countries now, women do want to pursue these kinds of careers and they feel like they might get a better salary here compared to, for example, Malaysia. So they've come here.
So maybe improving then, slowly.
Slowly, hopefully.
So you said you lived in Osaka before you lived in Tokyo.
Right.
How would you compare the two cities? Like, do you have a preference? You know, what aspects of each were good, do you think?
I think the social aspect of Osaka is completely different from Tokyo. Osaka really felt like a university town to me, where you could go anywhere, and if you didn't know someone, they would kind of automatically introduce themselves to you. It was that kind of feeling where everyone was open to talking to each other. And the first friend that I made was actually a girl who was sitting next to me on the train, and she tapped my shoulder and started talking to me. I was so surprised.
Really? Wow.
That kind of thing would never happen in Tokyo. And yet, like, people just were more open in Osaka.
Wow.
Okay.
That's good to hear.
Any benefits to Tokyo, or is it?
Well, the main reason I'm here is because all the career opportunities are here. Unfortunately, the finance industry doesn't really exist in Osaka yet. You might have some sales offices and so on, but you can't really do my kind of work there.
Okay. So all things being equal, you might rather live over there than in Tokyo, is what I'm getting from this?
I feel like I've built a social circle now in Tokyo that it's going to be hard to leave, but the rent was certainly much cheaper in Osaka. Like the cost of living was cheaper in Osaka. I do really miss quite a lot of things, especially travel. There are so many interesting trains over like in the Osaka Kyoto region. You can easily travel to Kyushu where there's even more trains. So I think if you want to travel domestically, like Osaka is a really good base for that, especially with Peach Airlines. You can easily fly anywhere.
Yeah, there's flights from Sendai that, 6,000 yen or something. Yeah, definitely.
So before we go on to the trains and stuff, a bit more about the actuary insurance side. Personally, I've been looking at medical insurance recently, and part of me thinks, well, I could just put the money in an investment fund and build it up over time, and that would cover me for something happening. And then part of me thinks, no, I should have as much cover as possible. As an insider, where do you stand on the general approach to insurance? Get everything or get nothing?
I personally don't have any additional insurance, but that's because I'm still relatively young and I don't feel like I have that kind of risk yet. But if you feel like you are at risk of certain things, especially having to be hospitalized, the national insurance here doesn't cover that much. Like it covers 70%, which seems like a lot, but the 30% could end up being quite a lot of money that you're paying out of pocket if you're hospitalized. So one of my friends had a hernia operation in Osaka, and he ended up paying Juman out of pocket for his operation because he was hospitalized. So if you feel like you are at risk of basically anything, it would be a good idea to have additional medical insurance. Not that I have any.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, I have a tendency to break bones, so I do have supplementary medical insurance, and I calculate I've more or less broken even.
Yeah.
I've kind of received about as much as I've paid in premiums, so it kind of zeroed out for me, but that's because I keep breaking things. So it could be, yeah, my stance on medical insurance is that it's probably not necessary in Japan, but it could be nice to have under certain circumstances.
Yeah, it really depends on like if you were to be hospitalized, what kind of experience would you want that to be? If you want a private room and so on, then of course that costs a lot more. So if that kind of thing matters to you, it's good idea to have additional insurance. If you don't care or like you feel like you have the funds to cover that kind of thing anyway, then you don't need it. But that's kind of for all insurance. Like it really depends on what you perceive your risk to be.
Okay. I was going to ask if there are any rules of thumb. So you have several rules of thumb in finance, like you should save 3 months of your salary as an emergency fund, or you should split 60-40 stocks and bonds or something like that. They're sort of rough rules for people. Like you can't really go wrong with these rules. Is there anything like that in insurance? It sounds like it's just evaluate your own risk is the rule of thumb.
It's kind of evaluate your own risk. Quite a lot of insurance can be used as financial instruments, like for if you want term insurance and so on, people use that as more of a savings product rather than an insurance product. But I'm not a salesperson, so I'm not gonna like try to push anything. It really depends on what you feel is your risk. Of course, there's like other ways to invest your money rather than buying insurance.
So you don't have any insurance products yourself?
No, actually, I don't. But that's because I didn't expect to be here this long, and now the longer that I'm here, the more I'm starting to feel like maybe I should just get various insurances, considering I've been here for a long time. But yeah, one of the reasons has been I didn't know when I was going to leave, and so it just didn't really make sense for me to buy these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Can you see yourself staying here permanently then?
I was going to ask the same question.
I don't know. So My husband is from the UK and I'm from Canada, so we are still considering where it makes sense for us to be. I don't know if either of those countries, it could be a third country somewhere else. The UK recently changed their immigration laws to make it much harder. So it
They
seems
did.
much more and more unlikely that we'll go there, unfortunately. Like I did think that maybe we'd go there, but now it just feels like, probably not. So yeah, we may be here more like longer than I expected, just because like it's difficult to get a visa elsewhere, and also the Canadian like economy is not great. It's really difficult to buy houses. Inflation is
Oh, I
hitting
heard
everyone really hard. There is a huge lack of jobs. Like there's been a boom in immigration, especially with students. So people have been lining up just to get like basic McDonald's jobs. It's quite a difficult situation there right now. So I feel like
Oh,
right
yeah.
now we are both employed here. So it, we'll figure out what the plan will be later.
It's quite easy to suddenly find yourself here for decades. You're like, oh,
Yeah, time does pass
20
very
years have
quickly.
passed. So
Especially employed by a non-Japanese company as well. I found a big difference moving from Japanese to non-Japanese, and it makes it a lot easier here, I think.
Yes.
I'm jealous. I've never worked for a non-Japanese employer.
I feel like the environment varies based on the company, though. Like the first company that I worked for was a Dutch company, but the environment was very much Japanese. Then I worked for an American company that was completely American. And now I work for a Canadian company. I feel like the culture is a bit of both. There's quite a few people who are Japanese in management, so they kind of dictate the culture, but also our CEO is foreign, so that's also a factor. But my team is completely Japanese, other than myself.
Oh, really? Oh.
Is the working language Japanese? So
Mostly, like with for team meetings and so on, we do speak in Japanese. For emails, we use English.
Oh, wow.
And how have you studied Japanese? Did you come here with already having some language, or did you
I
start?
had
when you
some
got here?
knowledge because I took some courses in university. Whilst I was supposed to be studying actuarial science, I was kind of doing Japanese as like a little break for myself mentally. So yeah, I did come here with some knowledge, and then I built on that whilst in Osaka. I took some private lessons there as well, and then it's kind of just been like on the job since starting my first company here until now. I've had to use much more than I expected, and so it's just naturally built through practice.
I think you said you spent some time teaching English. We are aware of quite a few people here teaching English who kind of want to get out of that and into some kind of more established career. You have any? Oh no, not sorry, I shouldn't say more established. An alternative career to teaching English. Do you have any advice?
You
for
get
people
angry
in that
comments
situation?
from English teachers.
Yes, I apologize for that.
The main reason I was able to switch out is because I already had experience in my home country. If you come here with absolutely no experience, it can be more of a challenge to switch careers. But I came here already with experience, and then I studied with a Japanese teacher to be able to practice my Jiko Shokai and be able to practice interview questions in Japanese specifically for the types of jobs I was applying to. And because of that, I had a phone interview initially, and I was able to answer all the questions on the phone, and then they invited me to an in-person where I was able to demonstrate my skills. If you have absolutely no knowledge or don't know what kind of field you want to get into, then it's better to try and build that experience first, maybe by taking a course or something. Like there's lots of programming courses and boot camps and stuff that you can do to try and switch careers.
Yeah, that's the main thing, isn't it? People go into, if they've got no qualifications, that's always the thing, isn't it? If you come here straight from university and you just teach English, then it's really challenging. To people go into recruitment, they try and learn programming, they might go into some kind of sales job, but it's really tough, I think. So you definitely did it the right way, I think. Get a career first.
If I somebody moving to Japan for the first time, I would say try and get experience in your home country first in whatever you want to do before you move here. I think there's a lot of people that want to move right away after graduating because it's exciting and like, oh, this is an opportunity for work. But then they get stuck in doing something that maybe they don't want to do. So I think the best thing is to give yourself the skills that you want to be working in.
That's very good advice.
Yeah, with the caveat that you don't really know what's going to happen. Like, I came here for 2 years, then I was going to go back and get a proper job, but still here.
Yeah, but basically skills as well as like language ability helps to get into these.
Okay.
Yeah, phone interview must have been really tough because you can't even see the mouth moving, and if you
Yeah,
just
that
coming
was
straight
quite
out of
difficult.
lessons.
Because I had a teacher, I was able to practice some expected questions. Like I expected them to ask me about certain actuarial things. I expected them to ask me about my previous job and like describe what I did and so on. So at least those kinds of things I was able to write down and practice saying that kind of stuff. And then if something came, like a new thing came out, then I would be able to at least like, okay, think about it and then slowly answer. But the main stuff was already done.
Yeah, well, impressive. You must have worked hard for that.
That's really impressive. Yeah. Like.
Oh.
All right, so trains. So my wife wants to go on that Kyushu thing that seems to cost like more than our apartment does. Like, have you
The
been on
7
that?
stars
Yeah,
one?
the 7 stars. Yes. I also want to go on that.
Oh,
One
okay.
day. Hopefully I'll get sponsored to ride it. That was kind of the motivation to start talking about trains. Like if I talk about them, maybe they'll invite me to ride this train.
Has that happened yet?
No, I haven't really done anything yet. Like I've been thinking about making a blog or maybe a train only Instagram. When I have time, I'll start that kind of stuff.
I think you could. I mean, your content is really good. Like it's inherently interesting and you got great photos and yeah, I'd follow that. Yeah, let us know if you do because we'll stick it in our emails and stuff.
Sure, yeah, when I have a minute, I'll definitely start that.
Because I guess that's the motivation if you can get sponsored to do stuff.
I'm going to share a tweet thread here, which is one that you have pinned on your account, which is it's not the best, is it? It's all of them, all of the interesting trains that you've been on in one thread, I think.
Yeah. I was
photos.
trying to think about like how can I just share all of these in one go, and well, a thread is the easiest way just to chronicle everything I've done.
Yeah, everybody take some time, look through that thread. It's so cool. Even if I'm not a train nerd, but it's just so cool seeing.
Oh, you are. I've talked to you about. You are a train nerd. You just.
I didn't think I was, but maybe I am secretly. Yeah.
So what's your top 3 then, Simran? If you're going to choose 3,
that's
trains
really
that, a newbie would go on and be like, "This is awesome."
I think it really depends. Well, first of all, what area you're in and what your budget is. Because the very first one that I went on was the Yufuin no Mori in Kyushu, and it goes between Fukuoka and Yufuin. And all of this actually started during COVID. We weren't able to go abroad or visit our family, so most of our time was just spent domestically traveling whenever cases were low. So we went to Fukuoka. I was looking up what to do, and this train came up, and it looked really interesting. And that was the first sightseeing train that I've been on. Sightseeing, basically, like it does. Like the point of it is to ride the train rather than to go to the destination the fastest way. It was really just like you go on this because it's cool, and there's no other reason. And it was cool. Like the entire train is completely green on the outside to like reference the Mori bit. It's very wooden finishings, like beautiful lacquer. There's a cafe on board. There's some staff that go around helping you take a picture at your seats. So it feels like an experience when you ride this train. So that kind of unlocked this whole joy for me in riding trains. Like I went on this and this joy of discovery that I hadn't felt for such a long time because I've been living in Japan for nearly 9 years now. And you know that feeling that you get when you experience something new. It's been hard to get that kind of feeling again when you've lived here for so long. But then I went on that train and I was like, this whole new world has been unlocked for me. All of these things that I never knew about because I've only really taken the Shinkansen. So the Yufuin no Mori, I would definitely recommend because it's a very easy train to take. It takes you to a very cute town of Yufuin, which is an onsen town. You can easily walk around. You can ride horse carriages anywhere. The houses are very cute. It feels like a very picturesque kind of Ghibli town. It's really, really pretty. Then I went on the Sapphire Odoriko the same year for my birthday. That was extremely luxury train, and it's a little bit expensive, but it's a really fun experience if you just want to have like one really nice night out in Tokyo. You take this luxury train and you can take it. You can take it like overnight to if you want to do an overnight trip to Izu if you want to, or you can just do a day trip there. But it's beautiful. We had a private cabin on board. It felt like a boardroom to yourself. They have a really nice cafe area where the restaurant is actually, the menu is made by a famous restaurateur, and they change the menu all the time, every season. And then all the seats are green car seats. So there's no regular seats, and the seats, like, they swivel towards the window, so you can like have really good view out the window.
Nice.
So yeah, that was a beautiful experience.
And that runs along the coast, I guess, so you get the view of the sea.
And then the same year over Christmas, we went back to Kyushu, and there was a really interesting train called the A Train. And the A Train is named after that song, Ride the A Train, from the States. And it has the interior of like an old whiskey bar, and they sell like highballs on board, and they play this song over and over again. It's a really interesting train, and it runs south from Kumamoto down to the port area where you can take some cruise ships and stuff from there.
Oh, wow. Nice. And what's the cost for these? Are they comparable to Shinkansens, or are they more expensive? Or?
It really varies. I think the Sapphire Doriko is the most expensive train I've taken, and the cost was about 15,000-ish per person for a one-way trip. That's because we got a private cabin. If you just get the regular seats, then it's about 8,000-ish per person. But then the A Train and the Yufu no Mori were about 1,500 to 2,000 per person. Not that expensive.
Really? Yeah. That little? Wow.
Okay, so one of my questions I have lined up is how can we enjoy these fancy trains on a budget? But it sounds like they're not necessarily expensive.
Quite a few of them are very affordable. I regularly take the romance car. I think that's the train I talk about the most.
Oh, that's nice.
Because I live very close to Shinjuku. It's very easy to take it to either Enoshima or Hakone. And the romance car to Hakone is 1,600 yen per person. It's just, you might as well go. Like, why not?
You could just go and ride it, couldn't you? Just for the afternoon.
Exactly. Yeah, just go. There's a really nice train called the La View that goes from Ikebukuro to Chichibu, and that's also like 1,200 yen. It's not expensive at all.
Really? Oh.
It's very easy to do a day trip, like, affordably.
Are they crowded, these trains? Like, are they very
No,
popular?
so there's a limited number of seats, and you do have to book them in advance. That is the number one thing for all of them, really. The best thing is to, once you decide your travel, the best thing is to book them a month in advance, exactly when it releases. And it can be kind of a really exciting thing, like, okay, the train seats are going to drop on this day. So you log in and try to get them. The romance car can be booked whenever you want to, generally, but if you want the observation deck, which is like the front car area with big windows, that's definitely, you should book it a month in advance.
There was a guy, so a little bit sidetracked, but there was a guy who got arrested and I think sued because he booked like 1,600 times or something the observation deck chairs because he had this real grudge against the train company. So he kept filling them up and never actually riding on it.
Oh my gosh.
I shouldn't laugh, it was very bad.
Wow.
That's
I think I saw that story, yeah. So he'd book it and then cancel it at the last minute so they couldn't sell the seats, I think.
Yeah,
well,
eventually they
if you book it now, you do have to pay by a certain date. Otherwise, your booking will be cancelled. So they may have changed the rules because of that. Yeah, you can't just book it.
It's always one person that spoils it for everyone else. Like.
Right.
We have a little comment from Lloyd Forger. Thank you on YouTube. He says, they say, Southern Japan take their trains more seriously. Without wanting to get them to a north-south argument, would you say towards the south of Japan is better for the train experience?
I think it really depends. I mean, there are so many trains in the north of Japan that I haven't been on yet that I'm really excited to ride. There is the resort Shirakami that goes from Akita to Aomori, and it stops at many stations along the way where you can get little souvenirs, and like there's people on the platform there waving at you, and like they play music and stuff. It's a whole experience, a 5-hour, like very long experience. There is a train that has kotatsu on board, so you can like sit and like actually up there. There used to be a foot bath train that unfortunately ended operation last year. But yeah, there are still many cool trains in the north, but I feel like there may be more in the south, and maybe they're more easily accessible to tourists because the ones in the north do kind of require at least a time commitment for the 5-hour train. The other kotatsu one only operates in the wintertime, so they're kind of like certain seasonal trains. There's one that I still really want to ride in the south called the 36+3. And it's called 36+3 because Kyushu is the 36th largest island in the world, apparently. And the 3 is meant to be like JR Kyushu locals and customers coming together as one. That's their slogan. And also, like 36+3 is 39, so it's Sankyu. Like, thank you. So you
How long
mentioned
did
the
it take
7
them to
stars.
come up
Yeah.
with that?
You mentioned the 7 stars earlier, and the 36+3 is designed by the same designer as the 7 stars. So the interior actually, it looks really nice and a little bit similar to 7 stars, and it's something that you can ride on much more of a budget compared to 7 stars. It's a day trip.
Awesome. Are there any good resources to find out about these? Like, are there any kind of central websites or?
Yeah, unfortunately, there isn't that much information in English, and that's why I've been thinking about either writing a blog or, at least doing like a central Instagram account about all these things, because all of these trains are divided by train company, first of all, and then by area. So if you search on, for example, JR Kyushu, you'll find all of the Kyushu trains. If you search on JR East, you'll find all the Tokyo-based trains. If you search based on Hankyu and Hanshin and all of these other train companies, you'll find the Kyoto trains. So there isn't one single resource. If you look for articles, most of the articles talk about JR trains specifically because tourists usually come here with a JR pass. But since the JR pass is increasing in price, maybe people will forego getting a pass and will instead book single tickets. So if they do that, then maybe people will spend more time in certain areas and ride these local trains rather than taking the Shinkansen between cities.
That makes sense. It sounds like it's a really good niche right now with the boost in tourism as well. So
I think so, yeah. Like my goal overall is to maybe write a book one day if I can compile enough pictures and information. I'm hoping to write a book that talks about like the majority of these good trains across all of these train companies. There are some books in Japanese, but they also focus on train company specific.
Yeah, I mean the intersection of Japan and trains and like aesthetically cool stuff, it's magic, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so many things to discover. Like I'm still discovering all of these new trains, like just coincidentally. Like last Christmas, my husband and I went on the wine train in Nagano, where they have unlimited wine on board, and it actually used to be the old version of the romance car. They transferred the old romance car all the way for the Nagano line, and they started serving wine on it. And the reason I found that is because another one of my friends took a wine train to Yamanashi, and I was trying to find that train. And I literally Googled wine train. This other train came up, and so we ended up going on it. But often these trains are seasonal. So I once took a train that had a tatami floor from Tokyo to Katsunuma, which is the winery area. And that train ran only seasonally. So unfortunately, they no longer run this train. And some of these trains, they move from area to area. So you might find it in Tohoku one time. You might find it in Yamanashi one time. You might find it on the south. Like they transfer it all over the country on different routes. So like, yeah, they're just special seasonal trains that you have to find information about in Japanese. It can be quite difficult. So following Japanese Twitter accounts that talk about trains can be one way, or following Instagram accounts, or hopefully following me. I'll share all the information I can.
Definitely, yeah. So there's no kind of Japanese websites that cover everything either.
No, there is no central Japanese website. And so it can be very hard for tourists to find this kind of information, especially how to book trains can be a little bit complicated.
Yes.
Some of them are relatively straightforward, like the romance car. You just go on the romance car website, you can book the train. Other ones are a little bit like trickier to navigate. If you want to find a certain JR Joyful train, for example, even getting to that site can be a little bit tricky, and then finding the correct train, and then finding like which dates it runs on and so on. Like I've had trouble myself, even though I have no trouble parsing Japanese websites. So I can only imagine the trouble that tourists have when booking this kind of stuff.
Yeah, some kind of concierge service, perhaps. Like
yeah, especially, yeah. But it's just like there's no guarantee that you can or cannot book a train. It's just a matter of knowing your dates and hopefully booking a month in advance.
Right.
We have another question on YouTube. Alex Kirkham asks, have you been on an animal-themed train, like the panda train to Wakayama? I didn't know there was a panda train. But any of those?
There is a panda train, yeah.
Wow.
I have been on I've been on a Pikachu train. That's not exactly an animal train. But recently I was in the Fukui area, And I didn't get to ride this train, but there is a dinosaur train that goes from Fukui Station to the dinosaur museum area. It runs at certain times of the day, so unfortunately the timing didn't work out for me, but it's a very cute train where they have like dinos everywhere.
Yeah, the dinosaur museum is great. I was there last year with my grandkids, and yeah, really, really good. And they're putting in links, aren't they? They're putting in a Shinkansen, I think, soon.
Yeah,
So,
they are.
yeah, definitely recommend visiting that. There's actually a train in Sendai that's called the Manga Kan, I think it's called, and because there's a manga museum in Ishinomaki, so they run it. But there's the inside is normal; it just has cool paintings on the outside, unfortunately. But that's the extent of it. Like, there's an interesting train nearby that my wife keeps trying to book, but you have to phone them to book it. So there isn't a website. Just phone them and hope that they'll have. Yeah. So talking about barriers to booking it.
Yeah, I find that certain ones do have a high barrier, especially if you want the special cars. So, for example, the Safiro Doriko, I was in a private cabin, but in order to book the private cabin, you can't book it online. You have to go to the JR counter and book it there. And again, these ones sell out a month in advance. So you really have to be here in person and go to the counter in order to book it. Or have
7:53 on like Wednesday morning, right?
Exactly, right? Or have a friend in the country that can go and book it for you. It's a little bit difficult for people outside the country to book that.
Sounds like tickets for the Ghibli Museum as well. They're notorious.
Yeah, exactly.
I've tried to buy them for people outside of Japan, and it's the hoops you have to go through.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what would you say your personal favorite is of all of the ones you've been on?
Oh, that's really hard. Like, my personal favorite is the romance car because I've been on it so many times. Like, my husband even mentioned it in his wedding speech in terms of like, talking about things about me. But there is a very cool train called the Hinotori, which runs in Nagoya. And I ended up taking it once between Kyoto and Osaka, and on that part of the train journey that's like on the Nagoya line, and also whilst I was there for the F1 earlier this year. And the train is basically like the ground class of the Shinkansen. There's a certain car on board that is just like the ground class. You have these very expensive looking seats, and it feels like you're in the first class of like an airplane. There's no food service on board on that, but the train is really affordable compared to the ground class. So it's kind of a way to experience that kind of luxury without paying ground class money.
The budget version of ground class, right? Yeah.
So I think the train was something like 3,000 or 4,000 per person. So still a little bit more than the regular train would cost, but it's nice if you want an experience.
Yeah, because ground class is how much? Like
10,000
extra or something?
Yeah, it depends on the line, but yeah, and how far you're going, but it could be up to 20,000 extra.
Was that one in Kansai another like separate ordering process, or could you just get it like?
You do have to put it online. It's part of the Kintatsu train, so you go to the Kintatsu website and then book the train seats. Because it's a limited express, all of these seats have to be booked in advance. Right. You can go to like the machine and try to book it there, but usually if you do that, it'll be sold out. So it's so much better to just book it online in advance. But luckily, I was able to get seats just 3 days before the actual day rather than a month before.
Wow.
Okay, so just try, and it's pretty good to be flexible, isn't it? Like try again. Like
exactly, yeah. Like you may get lucky, you never know. Especially if you're going on a weekday, it'll be much easier than a weekend.
Awesome. So the best way to follow you is to follow your Twitter.
Yes, for now, I'm sure that on my Twitter one day I will announce that I have a train-only Instagram, and then you can follow my adventures there. But for now, you can follow my Twitter.
Awesome. And we do ask all our guests about personal finance.
I really don't have that much
bit about your kind of approach, what you're doing, what you might do in the future. You said you're not sure you're going to be here, which is very common. So people who are not sure if they're staying or not tend not to do things, and therefore, they're kind of waiting.
So right now I have NISA, and I'm excited about the new version of the NISA coming out next year. But because again, I don't know how long.
Sim, stop. We
lost you for a sec. So we got as far as NISA. So
yeah, sorry. So yeah, I'm excited about the next year's NISA as well. But I don't have anything other than that because again, I don't know how long I'm going to be here. people who invest in Ideco generally think they're going to be here for a long time, so I haven't done Ideco. I have some stocks through my company because we have a stock sharing plan, so that's just one random thing that I have. But I have been considering what other options I have for personal investments that are not formal retirement savings plans like the Ideco. And a lot of my former coworkers who are established here have invested in investment properties. So some of them have like maybe single bedrooms across various towns, like Yokohama and one in Shinagawa or whatever, and they feel like that's a pretty good investment. Other people have various side hustles they do in order to raise money, and I feel like it can be trickier here compared to countries like Canada and the States where we have RRSPs or 401ks, and there's nothing really formal like that here. So yeah, something I've been thinking about myself is what I can do for actual savings other than NISA. But right now, it just seems like NISA is maybe the best bet.
Especially once it's 3.6 million a year. A lot of people are going to struggle to fill that. So very positive development. Do you have anything in Canada, or did you basically not have time to set that up?
I have what I used to have as a group retirement savings plan through my company. My company used to have a DC plan, so a defined contribution, where my company would match certain contributions, and that eventually was invested into a group retirement savings. But unfortunately, here in Japan, the same company only has a DB plan, so it's a defined benefit, which is a lot less money, unfortunately. And it kind of seems like DB is the way that most companies go here, which is unfortunate. I hope that one day I can find a company that has a DC plan, but for now, keep chugging on.
Apart from the plan, it sounds like you're pretty happy with the company anyway, then.
Yeah, I do like my company. I like the fact that I have flexibility for my manager and I can work from home and so on. But the yen has dropped significantly. Luckily, it's like slowly been on the rise just for the past couple of days, but it has dropped. Salaries have not increased, and it kind of seems like the only way that people can increase their salaries is by changing companies. And that's not really something I want to do, but it's not easy to get promotions and job raises otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like companies are kind of shooting themselves in the foot with that, but it is what it is, isn't it? So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
It's been really cool to hear your kind of passion for. Definitely, please set up this website. I think it's going to be, both incredibly useful and incredibly profitable. So, and do let me know when you do, because we'll promote it on Retire Japan as well. So.
Okay.
But for now, everyone, please follow Simran's Twitter, which is sim_Nagra.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks so much for joining us in between work assignments, as it were.
And modeling. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Bye.
Thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, Simran.
Bye.
All right. That was awesome. I love meeting people like that, like as soon as we got to talking about trains, it was like
I want to get on one right now. It's like really fired up.
Yeah. So I'm kind of tempted to go and see what's up here, in Tohoku, because
yeah,
I might be able to share some new ones with her. Like, hey, I found this.
Yes. I've heard of that wine train in Nagoya. I didn't realize it was unlimited wine. That's really tempting. That is.
It's got your interest now, has it?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so today, we had the awesome interview. It's also our December issue, our December episode. And anyone who's been here since season 1 knows that we have a very important tradition for the December episode. I didn't want to do this to Simran because it would be weird given how early in December it is, but it can't be helped. So we are going to be talking about end of year traditions later on in the show. So yeah, just that's the tone. And I know Daniel hates this. So.
I get embarrassed. Shizuoka Blues on YouTube. Are we still live? Yes, we are. I can prove we're live because I just read your question. Not the recorded conversation.
Yep, we're still here. Awesome. All right. So, what have we got today?
We have a
News.
few news, and the first one is national news. It's about Ben's new thing, which you
Well,
put
actually, I
on.
wrote a blog post about this, so I
Put that
think
link in the
anyone who's interested can go back a couple of weeks and check out the blog post. But basically, I was talking to my life coach. That sounds really pretentious, but a friend of mine's just getting into coaching, so she's been giving me some coaching sessions, and I went in saying, "Yeah, I'm really stressed because I've got all these different things that I'm supposed to be doing, and I don't think I want to do all of them." And she kind of helped me narrow down to the fact that the things weren't the problem. My kind of lack of focus was the problem. And one thing she suggested was to start the day with some quiet time, just to sit down and not have any screens and not have any notebooks and not have anything, no music, nothing, and just sit with yourself for 30 minutes. And I was like, 30 minutes? Like, I'm already busy. What's that gonna But I tried it, and it's incredible. So I find that if I do that, and it's not easy to do, and I don't do it every day, but if I do that, then the rest of the day becomes incredibly productive. So I really struggle with focusing and staying on task and stuff. And that quiet time, I don't know what it is. I think maybe I don't know if it helps you focus or if it helps you think about things, but it's really unpleasant, to be honest. It's not fun at all to sit in silence and do nothing for 30 minutes. Like, I kind of sit by the window, so I've got a plant in front of me and I've got the wind. I can look at the sky and stuff, but it's so boring. And you're sitting there and you're not supposed to have a clock. This is apparently quite important, because if you've got a clock, you're kind of looking at it going, okay, I've got 7 minutes to go or whatever. So you have no idea. So you set a timer, put it in a different room, and you just sit there, and it goes on forever. It's the closest thing I've got to this is cold showers.
Oh, right.
So very, very similar. So a cold shower is also unpleasant. You don't want to start doing it, and you don't want to do it while it's happening. But as soon as it's finished, then you feel great. You get all the benefits, and you're like, I'm glad I did that. And it seems similar to me. It's the same kind of experience. So it's not fun. It's slightly unpleasant. It's kind of tough, but it really helps once it stops.
What
It's kind of like that joke, doctor, it hurts when I do this. Well, stop doing that.
Right. Yeah. So what are you looking at during these 30 minutes? The plant or out of the window? Or
I'm looking at the plant. I'm looking out the window. I'm looking at the ceiling. I'm looking at my toes. Anything.
Oh, so you're allowed to look around and stuff.
Yeah. You just sit there, oh my god! It's like a small child. I don't know if you've seen those marshmallow videos.
Yeah.
Talk with the marshmallow.
Yeah.
So there's a TED talk about the marshmallow experiment where you've got a bunch of little kids and you give them a marshmallow and you go, look, I'm going to leave now and I'm going to come back in 10 minutes time, and if the marshmallow is still here, I'll give you another one. And it's all about willpower and stuff. And just watching the kids sitting there for 10 minutes doing nothing with their thing that they want to eat, it's like that. You're kind of like fidgeting and like, but I found it really, really helpful. So if you have trouble focusing, it might help. And then, check out the blog post, because I go into it in even more detail.
Wow. Thank you, 2023 FTW. So we're going to have a Q&A session at the end, and so we'll save that. And any other questions people have
to there, yeah, definitely
later on. In the meantime, the next one I have, I don't suppose you call it news actually, because it's a bit of an old video, but I've discovered this guy on YouTube. Oh, a guy on YouTube. Well, what do you know? Who seems to be obsessed with IKEA. He's an interior designer. Yeah, IKEA, the store, or IKEA. He is an interior designer, and he doesn't like some things about IKEA, and he loves some things about IKEA, and so he seems to have a lot of inside info. He talks about them, and one that is kind of finance related that I enjoyed. It was IKEA. What did he call it? IKEA tips to save you money. I think it's called. Oh, IKEA secrets that cost you money. That's it. Which is kind of interesting. But a couple of them stood out to me. One is that you go through the main part of IKEA, and first of all, as we know, they make you walk through miles and miles and miles and hopefully buy stuff. Then you go into sort of the marketplace section where the cheaper, like more sort of casual items are. He says that they put little, very cheap essentials right at the bottom of the steps, or right when you get in there, like the tea light candles or a pack of serviettes or something like that. And you're very likely to need that. And so, oh yeah, we'll just get one of those whilst we're here. Once you've got that, you grab your basket and you put one thing in.
That's so
then
clever, isn't it? 'Cause
psychologically,
it makes
you're
you
hooked.
pick the basket up, and then you're primed for
Yep.
shopping.
And then everything else is much easier to put into that basket, and you walk out with much more than you expected. So
I hate
reverse that
IKEA.
round.
I just want to go on the record, say I
Right.
loathe IKEA. I've been there once.
Well, only
And it
one. All
annoyed
right, I
me
haven't been for
so
a long
much.
time, but so yeah, if we reverse that and into a money saving tip, then when you go down the steps into the marketplace area, force yourself not to get anything for at least like the first 2 stands or whatever they are until you get past the cheap
Don't pick up the basket.
essential stuff.
Like,
Or just don't pick
make
up the
yourself
basket. Yeah.
carry everything, and then you can only hold a certain number of items.
That's a good money saving tip. You heard it here, folks. Don't get a basket. And
Works in supermarkets too.
but don't put them in your coat pockets.
Yeah, don't put them in your pocket. 'Cause we're not legally responsible for your actions here. So.
Right. Yeah. And another of his IKEA's secrets that save you money was the cheap stuff in IKEA is just there for them to look like they're a good value brand. And actually, that's not really the stuff that you want to buy. Having said that, we've got one of the cheapest tables over there, which is years old, and it's absolutely fine. But in general, he says, steer clear of that stuff. Look at the sort of the middle of the range stuff, a lot of it, which is solid wood or it's a nice wood veneer. That's where the value is. And then if you see yourself going towards the sort of the higher end stuff in IKEA, that's the point where it's not really that good value, because you can get other really nice high-end stuff at proper high-end furniture stores. So if you're looking at the most expensive thing in IKEA, stop. You might find something cheaper and better elsewhere. But middle of the range, that's where the IKEA value is.
That's really interesting. Like I really like Tokyo Interior. It's slightly more expensive than IKEA. It's slightly more expensive than Nitori, but I find that they seem to be higher quality and nicer, basically. So.
Oh, and that's not just Tokyo, I guess.
No, there's one right by my house, so next to a Nitori,
really?
so you can kind of compare. You can walk back and forth. But yeah, generally I find slightly better service, slightly better products at Tokyo Interior. So. And IKEA, I couldn't stand that whole like you have to walk through the whole store, because I went in there and I was like, I want this table, and they were like, oh, you have to walk through to section D whatever. I was like, what? Just give me the table. So yeah, that didn't go great. So.
Yeah,
especially because it was one of the cheap tables that wasn't very good. So
right, yeah.
I should have gone for the mid-range. Like I wish after watching this video. So
you know now.
Are you an IKEA fan then?
I wouldn't say I'm crazy about them. We have a few pieces. Haven't been for a year or two. Oh, but I am a fan now, just over the past couple of weeks, of their smart home stuff. So I'm in tune with my geeky side, and I religiously read Hacker News, all that techie stuff. I love it, and there are all these different sort of smart home solutions out there, but the techie guys or the techie people in the know, they recommend IKEA, and a lot of it is called Trådfri, but now they've updated it with Dirigera. It's sort of the hub that you have that you connect everything in your home to, and it's compatible with, I think, Apple and Google and Amazon systems.
Wow.
I bought some lights the other day, and the cool thing is you don't need to have that hub. You can just have a light bulb and a remote control for it as your sort of first step, and then eventually when you get the hub, then you can connect it to your smartphone. But if you don't want to go that far at the beginning, just get the light bulbs and a remote control. We've got it in our bedroom, and so not only do we not have to get out of the duvet into the cold air and to switch the light off, you can do it from the bed, but also you can now dim the lights, which you can't usually do with LED lights. And then eventually when we get the hub, it'll be all connected. When we go away, we can control it with the app to make it look like we're still here. And
very cool.
So IKEA is really good for that.
Okay, and they're quite reasonably priced.
Yes, about 2,000 yen. I got the bulb and the switch for, which I thought wasn't too bad. And then you can also get slightly higher. I think 3,000 yen is where the switch will change not just the brightness but also the color, so you can change it from the sort of blue daylight bulb to the orange warmer
change the
bulb color.
hues and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
On a related note, like this isn't in our notes at all, but I've been getting really into Xiaomi stuff. Chinese company Xiaomi.
Yeah.
And so I've got their air purifier and their humidifier, and we recently got their robot vacuum, and it absolutely blew me away because it costs like 12,000 yen.
That's not much.
And we've got Roombas that cost 70, 80,000, and this is way better than the Roombas.
Really?
So like you got the app, the Xiaomi Home app, and you can see the map of the room. Like I can look at the rooms that the Roomba is in. You've got the entire shape and whatever trajectory it's taken that day. It's just crazy.
Like a radar.
Yeah. So, and for 12,000 yen, which is a fraction of what the other ones cost. So I was like, wow, yeah, this is really, really, really impressive.
I'm surprised at that. Wow.
So if you're after a robot vacuum, I would check out the Xiaomi robot vacuum, which is, really cool. I should put that in the Monday read. I haven't done that recently. So, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to hear more about that. It is your turn for a news article next, and it's about one of your YouTube videos that you did, your most recent one, actually.
Yeah.
Which is a slightly different format to what we normally do.
Well, yeah, completely. So basically, on a whim, someone sent me a really interesting little video about Nenkin, a TV show. And I thought, I want to react to this. I had to Google, how do I make a reaction video and stuff. And it turns out you can use the software that we use for this broadcast, which is called StreamYard, which is really user-friendly. But it makes it really easy to do reaction videos, basically. So I made the reaction video. It's an 18-minute video. I think it took me about 25 minutes from start to finish to upload it to YouTube. It was amazing. And it's one of the best performing videos on the channel. So I don't need to spend 10 hours like writing and editing and shooting. I can just randomly make stuff on StreamYard and it'll do better. So we'll probably be doing more of those. But I have a request, which is if you find any interesting videos, especially videos about money in Japanese, please send them to me because I'd love to feature them in these kind of reaction videos. So
you're not talking to me here. I think you're talking to the whole
audience. To the audience.
Anybody...
Well, you too. If you find any cool videos, definitely.
Yeah. Good one. How did you get that TV thing? By the way, did you record it off the TV or they had it online?
It was on YouTube. So it's a YouTube video. Actually, I'm not entirely sure whether the video was okay in terms of rights and stuff.
All right, yeah.
I assume it is because YouTube hasn't struck it down yet. But basically, it was on YouTube, and you can basically just link to the video within StreamYard and show it that way. And
Lloyd again.
I don't know how fair use works here, but I think because there was a fair amount of commentary, I was kind of stopping and explaining and stuff, and the video was a small part of the screens. I think it was okay, but I guess we'll see.
We are clearly
they'll demonetize it next week, and I'll be like, damn it.
Yeah. Don't know. Lloyd on the chat again says that Nenkin series is a famous TV series. Apparently, they do that every now and then. It's not a one-off.
I thought it was fantastic, like so good, so well made, like sympathetic to the people in it, but still kind of a cautionary tale, like, sort yourself out or this is what's coming. So I thought it was really, really fantastic. So I love seeing that kind of program on the TV.
Yeah. My turn for a news item. So the news is the yen-dollar exchange rate. Was it 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? The last episode, I said, I can see it going up to 170, 180 yen to the dollar. And almost the moment I said that, it slipped down a little bit in the opposite direction. So who knows where it will go, but please do not trust anything I say, or for that matter, anybody who makes a prediction in a podcast.
Yeah, that exchange rates. Yeah, it's impossible to predict short-term exchange rates. So I think it's 145 now. So, it's gone down slightly. It's strengthened slightly as opposed to weakening quite a bit. So
clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Just do the opposite of what Daniel says. And
yes. There is a Japan's stock market return for the year is 100%. Yeah. There is actually, I think it was created this year, a Jim Cramer reverse fund or something in the US, I think, where it's basically invested in everything that, or it shorts everything that Jim Cramer recommends and vice versa. He's a pretty famous stock guy on, I forgot the name of the Market Watch, I think it is, or the Street. I've forgotten the name of the program now, but he's, yeah, a loud stock predictor and recently not had a great run of accurate predictions.
Yeah, just goes to show.
Yeah. And your last bit of news is something you want to say?
I'd like to give a really big shout out to our 2 supporters on YouTube. We started a supporter program, kind of stealth supporter program, and that we haven't really talked about it. But 2 people have signed up and they're supporting us now with a small monthly payment, and I'm so grateful to them for that. And at the moment, you don't get anything for being a supporter, so you just get to support the channel. You do get a little badge that changes color the longer you've been a supporter, but we will probably be thinking of ways to, say thank you in the future, maybe have some kind of exclusive content and so on. But for now, thank you very much. And if you're a fan of the show and you want to support our YouTube efforts, you can do that. You can sign up. There's probably a link everywhere on the videos and the channel and so on. So,
do you want to share their usernames? Give them a shout out.
Let's have a look. Yes.
Special treat. This is it. This is what you get when you. This is the bonus material.
Indeed. So we have Geordie, I think it's pronounced in a mixture of katakana and Romaji, and Dan Ferreira. So the two original supporters forever will go down in history. And if anyone else wants to join them, you're most welcome.
Thank you. And that's very good timing because what we haven't put in the news is the 10-year anniversary for Retire Japan.
10 years. It was last week. It was on December 4th.
Yeah. So well done. There can't be many finance websites, or more than a website now, that have consistently put out quality material for 10 years.
It's pretty incredible. Like my personal blog is much longer, but I only post there like a couple of times a year. So.
Oh, right. Yeah.
To have something like Retire Japan where we're posting pretty much every day. So our regular posting schedule now is like Monday, the weekly email goes out. Tuesday, we post a short to everywhere, basically social media. Wednesday, we normally do a blog post. Thursday, we'll do a short. Friday is the main YouTube video. So 5 times a week.
Good. Another reason to wear the hat.
Oh yeah. Definitely. We should definitely get some Retire Japan branded hats for next year, for the December.
Okay. I'll see what I can
get some merch going as well.
Right. Okay. Right. I have we've got time for a quick money tip.
Yeah, always.
This is something I've started doing recently. Okay, money tip. It's not going to make you a load of money. But what I've done recently is I've got a JAL mileage account. I think many people have. I don't know if this works with Anna, but maybe there is a way. But JAL have their own little marketplace. So you log into the JAL website, and then through there you click on the JAL. Oh, what did they change their name recently? I can't remember what it's called now. Market Park Mall. It's mall or park.
Probably a mall, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And through there, you then go to any regular sites that you use, like Nojima, Denki, or whatever. Instead of getting stuff on Amazon recently, I've been going through the JAL website and then going to Yahoo Shopping, which is effectively a sort of big collection of smaller sellers, and buying the same thing. Usually, I can find it at pretty much the same price, including shipping. But because I'm going through the JAL website, I get miles. So for every 300 yen you spend, you get 1 mile. And so, I'm getting the same thing. I pay roughly the same price I would for Amazon, but I'm getting JAL miles. And
Can you double dip with a JAL credit card?
You probably can. Yeah. So you can go through the JAL website and buy from other places, not just Yahoo Shopping. And Amazon is one of them. And it used to work, but recently it's not for me. So I don't know if my browser is blocking the trackers or something, but I get stuff from Amazon. It just wasn't appearing in my gel account. So I'll skip it altogether. And also I'm kind of happy to support places that are not Amazon, because I feel like we need the competition.
The world.
We need the competition to keep the prices low for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, double dipping is fine. It says Roy Prick,
Awesome.
1986. Thank you.
Yeah, because I have a JAL credit card.
Oh, right. So you get extra.
Back in the day, I got into the JAL Global Club, I think it's called JGC.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So to do that, you have to fly enough to get whatever their mid-tier elite status is.
They've just made it much harder.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So I got it just in time. So these programs are only in Japan, and they're incredible value. We should talk about them. Talk about impromptu content. So there's two. ANA's got one as well, and JAL, and they both work the same way. So the ANA one's the Super Flyers Club, and the JAL is the Global Club. I think JAL Global
Mileage Club.
And once you get that status, you're then allowed to get this credit card for each one. And as long as you keep that credit card, you get to keep the status, even if you don't fly.
Oh, really? Oh, no, I didn't know that. I should point out, by the way, you can have a JAL credit card without being in this, but it's a slightly different level of sort of status, isn't it?
You don't get status, basically. You just get to get miles for your spend. But what this does is it gives you the equivalent of that mid-tier status, which gives you business class check-in and lounge access and all that good stuff. Priority boarding, basically. So you get those three things, which I find incredibly useful. And probably the best one is business class check-in.
Right.
Because you can skip the lines. So you can check in at the business counter, even if you're flying economy or whatever. And normally the economy line is a nightmare and the business class is wide open, so you can just walk in. Plus the agents are kind of nice, so they'll do things like find you seats and things that they might not do if you're in the economy line, because they're just trying to process everyone. So yeah, that's amazing. And then the lounges is kind of hit and miss, but some lounges are pretty good.
I like lounges.
And getting on the plane first is not important unless you want to snag your overhead storage. But yeah, definitely worth it. So if you fly enough, I had to kind of be creative and fly more than I needed to get these originally. But now you just get to keep them as long as you pay the credit card fees. So plus you can get family cards quite cheaply, and then the family also gets the status. So this is really, really valuable as well.
Oh, really? Wow.
I should do a video or a blog post about this, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Yeah, so it can be a bit confusing, and I say they have changed it recently, but the JMB is the Japan Mileage Bank, I think it is, which is just like the general, anybody can join for free. And then it's the, I think, JMC? J something C.
JGC.
JGC, Global Club, that's it. And that's the sort of exclusive one, which you have to fly a lot to get or spend a lot.
It used to be 50,000 miles, I think, in 1 year. And then you got Platinum or the JAL equivalent, which I think is Sapphire or something. And then once you reach that status, you can apply for the card, and then you can keep the card indefinitely. So
yeah, wow, I didn't know that. Well done. Jealous there.
Oh, this is a long I used to be really into miles and points back in the day. And then one day
you wrote an ebook on it, I think.
I did. But then one day I kind of thought, wait, if I just focused on money instead, then I could just buy the things I want rather than jumping through all these hoops with the miles and points. And yeah, I changed my focus at that point.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so that's our joint money tip. Right, the next thing we have on the agenda, we got just Christmas and New Year in Japan. What we're doing, in case people are interested.
So I mean, my routines have got fairly settled now. So when I came, obviously, first couple of years I was traveling. So I went to Thailand the first year, I went to the UK the second year, and then after that I kind of got married and had a family, and we kind of settled into having Christmas. I kind of, after the first few years, I started doing Christmas, like a version of the UK Christmas.
Right.
So I'll cook Christmas dinner I'll get a turkey, I'll get stuffing, I'll get, stuff. The only thing I couldn't get was parsnips. So
Yes.
I really miss parsnips.
I was going to mention that.
I can't find them
Yeah.
anywhere. We do have Brussels sprouts. So I get Brussels sprouts from the farmer's market down the road.
I've seen those in supermarkets occasionally, yeah. But
And
yeah,
if you cook them in the oven with a bit of olive oil and salt and pepper, they're amazingly good.
Oh, I've tried that.
So it's not like boiled to mush in a pan or whatever. The kind of traditional bad Brussels sprouts. They're amazing. If you blacken them in the oven with like salt and pepper and olive oil, they're so good. But yeah, so I do the Christmas dinner, but I do it Spanish style. So in Spain, the Christmas meal is on the night of the 24th. And we started doing that here. So we'll have Christmas dinner on the evening of the 24th, about 6:00, get the family round. And then the next morning, wake up, do presents and eat leftovers. So you don't have to do any cooking on Christmas Day, which is really nice. So.
I suppose that ties in well with Japanese anyway, because they also, around here at least, they'll say Ibu. What are you doing for Ibu? That's the big thing for them, 24th evening.
Yeah. And it also works for the family because, often Christmas is not a day off. It's a working day. So being able to do the meal in the evening when, they might have to go to school the next day. So often we'll do presents in the morning and then they have to go to school and leave the presents at home. So.
Oh.
How about you? What's your Christmas look like?
Usually just the three of us. Well, if we go back to the UK, obviously Christmas with the folks back in the UK, my family, but my wife's Japanese. And so this year we're staying here. So it'll be the three of us. We have a son. And she tends to kind of get into the Christmas spirit more than me. And so she's very keen on doing the Christmas lunch.
Nice.
Then for New Year's,
we do it on
no. So I'm vegetarian. I don't eat the turkey,
that hasn't
stuff.
come up yet. Interesting.
Really?
So you have a nut roast or something.
Yes, it was a kind of different variation each year until she found this wonderful recipe, which uses rice, which is perfect in the country of rice, and it is so good, and it lasts for 3 days. So I'm totally happy with having it every meal of every day for those 3 days. And then she'll make
post it in the show notes.
Right. I'll try and find it.
Daniel's veggie Christmas lunch recipe.
Yeah, it's.
I'll try and make it, and we can do a little video about it or something.
It was this couple in America, foodie couple in America, I think, who put it on their blog or something. Yeah, it's very good. And then she will do a separate like chicken dish or something for her and my son. When we were in the UK, she used to get a thing called poussin, which is some kind of small bird, like a small chicken, and then you could do a whole one, and it's enough for 2 people.
Oh,
She's
okay.
very good at that. Roasted mini chicken. Anyway, so that's a sort of a family Christmas, and then this year we're going down to her side of the family who are in Kyushu for New Year's, and so I left it a little bit too late. We looking at tickets for flying down, and at the time I looked in November, they were 30,000 yen, one person, one way. Oh, that's a lot. Maybe there's a better deal to be had. And so I left it and I looked at other things. And skyscanner.jp was pretty good actually for looking at the different flights. And in the end, by the time I got around to it in December, they'd gone up to 40,000 per person for one way. And in the end, I don't know, more and more recently, I'm thinking you get a chance to see your family, you should do it, because you never know how many more Christmases or New Years you're going to get. So I was like, okay, we're going to do it. Don't want to not see them and regret it. So we're going down there. But to save a bit of money coming back, we're coming back on the Shinkansen. Sim would approve. And because this is a little bit cheeky, but because we're saving money coming on the Shinkansen, and it's a long way, we're going green car. So we're paying an extra. It works out not too bad. It's only a little bit more than here at Tokyo to Osaka, to like the extra surcharge. If you do the full journey down to Kyushu, it's either is relatively good value. So it works out at 30,000 yen per person, green car on the Shinkansen, 4.5 hours, which is cheaper than the tickets were for the aeroplanes. So it's an experiment, and we'll see which way we prefer.
Yeah, I mean, bring some entertainment, bring some food. It'd be great.
Yeah, it would be really cool if they stopped halfway at Osaka for like 10, 15 minutes. You can get off the station and stretch your legs, buy something. But yeah, it's a long way. But yeah, entertainment and Ekiben. Yeah, it'll be good.
The only thing with the green car that I find is it's a little bit hit and miss based on what the other passengers are like.
Oh, right.
So like green car normally is amazing. It's quiet. You can relax. It's kind of cool. Everyone's reasonable. They like speak quietly and stuff. And then occasionally you'll get like a bunch of businessmen having a piss up or something.
Oh, right, really?
Like, drinking beer and being noisy. So it's a bit hit and miss that way. But generally, yeah, the seats are amazing and nice. And Grand Class. I've only been on once.
Yeah,
Grand Class was really nice. It was like airline seats. Yeah.
So Retire Japan is going for how to blow your budget on stuff rather than how to save your money.
No, it's never been about saving money.
That's
always been about being aware of your situation and where you want to get to and having a decent plan and working within those constraints. So
yeah.
And it's also, I'm a big fan of Ramit and his, live a rich life. So
yeah,
I don't have a car, so I get to spend money on travel. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a I don't care about having a car. I like traveling nicely. So yeah, it's all good.
Right. So that's our New Year's and Christmas.
New Year's. So yeah, our New Year's is my wife's parents live down the road, so we either bring them over and then take them home again afterwards, or we go and stay with them for the night. So last year, my wife was in hospital for New Year's, and my daughter went to spend New Year's with her husband's parents. So it was just me and my in-laws.
Wow.
So I went round to spend New Year's with them.
Do you do the countdown, or do you just fall asleep, or what?
Well, they're in their 90s, so I went for a couple of hours and then went home.
Right, they're probably not partying.
So. Yeah, we weren't up at 3 doing the EDM music and stuff.
yeah. My wife's family, but like my wife's family, I think like many sort of traditional families, is the countdown is just like not even on their radar. It's more about if anything, it's about the following morning, where the traditional, like, this is the start of the year, and then you do make the first.
Go to the shrine and eat mochi and do all that.
Right. Yeah. Couple of comments in the chat. Lloyd, ever since they changed the emperor, there's one less holiday for us in December. Yes, there is.
I was gutted. I thought they were going to stack it, so we'd keep the 23rd as a holiday, and we'd get the new emperor's holiday too. But it didn't. Yeah, they didn't do that.
No such luck. And then Robert in the Facebook chat says he heard that you don't have a car. So what do? You have a scooter instead, or what?
I've got a bicycle. So I used to ride a motorbike, but I came off it and trashed the bike. So the bike was wrecked. I broke my ankle, and my wife was like, no more motorbikes for you. And I was like, yeah, okay, I can see where you're coming from with that. So
yeah.
So now I've got a bicycle, and I will rent a car if I need one. So if I'm driving somewhere, I'll rent it. And that's makes a lot of sense for my situation. So I mean, I work outside the home, so where I am now is my kind of workspace, but it's only 45 minutes walk or 15-20 minutes on a bicycle. So my everyday is very easy, and I live next to a station, so I can use the trains, and my wife's got a car, so I can sometimes borrow that if I ask very nicely.
Okay.
But yeah, I personally don't need a car. And I'm not allowed to ride motorbikes anymore. So.
Right. That is our Christmas and New Year updates then. People are interested in that. Thank you for listening. Here's chat. And so next up we have Retire Japan, and you have some things you'd like to talk about?
So I just wanted to talk really briefly about a couple of courses that we are doing. So the first one is super exciting because it's something that I've been wanting to do for years. So for years I wanted to make this video course just about the basics, so people who don't really know where to start can just go through, a series of short videos and work through some exercises and really get a good foundation without having to join our big flagship course and without having to pay for coaching. They can just buy a reasonably priced course and get started. And that's finally done. So we kind of shot it. I was working with an editor for this. I hired an editor who was fantastic, really helped me get it done. And then we tested it at the beginning of November, and then it was all done. We kind of incorporated comments, and then it's finished. So we'll put a link in the description if you're interested. And
in the comments there as well.
Might be good for New Year's resolutions and things like that. So,
is this one where people have to wait for a particular time and be there on this Monday for the start of it, or can they watch it anytime?
This is a video course, so it's you can go through at your own pace. It's not restricted in any way. So some video courses try and make you do it kind of, you don't get the new videos until day 3 or whatever. This one's just everything. You've got access to the whole thing. Actually, some of the people that tested it, a couple of them finished it in one evening. So,
wow.
I mean, I think there's about 2 hours worth of video content, and then there's exercises to do. So normally I would expect someone to do that over, a week or so, just in bits. But if you sat down and binged it, you could as well. So,
and it's called The Basics of Personal Finance in Japan. So it's not just general personal finance. It has got specific to Japan content in there.
Oh, very much so, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't bother if you're not in Japan. Don't bother with this course because it's about Japan. And it's not really about investing. So this is about, budgeting and your mindset about money and saving. And so it's people who are having trouble just getting that first step organized. This is going to be very helpful. I mean, there's a little bit about investing, but it's not really the focus of the course.
We're going to answer the question about Americans in Japan shortly, but whilst we're on that subject, can Americans take this course, or will it be irrelevant for them because of all the tax restrictions?
No, this is pretty good mainly because the focus isn't so much on investing, and the main restriction on Americans is on what they can do with their investments. So this is fine for them.
Excellent. And that's out right now, is it? Can we go right?
Yeah, so we actually, it's out in the it's been out in the world for a few weeks. We haven't really told anyone about it. So yeah, so if you're interested, check it out. If you've got friends who might be interested, tell them about it. And yeah, let me know what you think if you do take it.
Excellent.
And then the other one is our main big course. So this is called Your First 10 Million Yen. It's a live course, so you do, ideally you would come to the live sessions. We have a live session once a week. It's like a 6-week course all in, and that's much more thorough, and the focus is on taking action on that one. So the basics of the video course is basically, here's all the things that you need to think about and maybe know about, and it'll give you a good foundation if you're not sure of what you want to do. Your first 10 million yen is more like, I am determined to make a big change this year, and that will hopefully help you with that because it's a live cohort. There's people taking it with you. There's a definite sense of momentum about it, and it's all about taking action. So
that's more of an online live classroom environment.
We're going to flip it this year. So this is the 3rd time doing it. And we learned so much from doing it the first couple of times. And the big change this year is that we're going to put all the content asynchronous. So you can access videos and you can access documents for the content. And then the live classes are going to be kind of discussion and question based.
Okay. What
so
size
in the
groups
past, we'd have these, like last year when we ran it, we had these massive mammoth sessions of 2-3 hours because we'd go through all the content first and then we'd have questions. And there's a bit, I think it was a bit too much. It was kind of like one of these RetireJapan TV shows, but like longer. So this year, what we're going to do, we're going to make so that people can go through the content at their own pace during the week. And then on Sunday, we'll kind of review it and then, have discussions and answer questions. So I think it's going to work better. And also it's going to be easier for people to go back and review concepts that they had trouble with.
Right.
Because they'll have individual videos and documents for each of them. So I think it's a huge upgrade. We've got a new platform, and I think it's gonna be great. So right now that's not open yet, but we have a list, and if you want to get notified when it launches, you can join that list. And there's no obligation, obviously. So when we launch, we're going to launch in January 10th. We're going to go live. So on January 10th, we'll send an email out to that list, and everyone on the list will have a chance to sign up first before. And there is a limit. So there's a limited number of places. So if you are really interested, I would recommend getting on the list so you have a good chance of getting a place if you want one.
Okay, I'll put that and the link to the take it anytime you want video course in the chat, and we'll put them in the description as well.
Awesome.
Really good. That's exciting stuff for Retire Japan, isn't it?
It's cool. It's I mean, it's the third time, so this is the third year we're running it, but I think it's getting better and better. We're getting a much better idea of how to run it well so that it helps people. And I'm really excited about this next one because it's a big upgrade compared to last year.
Yeah. Good luck with those. I'm not part of it, by the way. I'm just here. Very excited for you. Right. Okay. The final sections that we usually finish off with are forum updates and the Q&A. So forum updates.
Yes. So some interesting topics from the forum recently. How can I cash a UK check in Japan? Was the thread, and it was really, I've never thought of trying to do that. But this is someone whose UK bank account was closed. You might know that recently UK banks have been closing non-resident accounts. And so, people who have had a bank account for 20 years, 30 years, just had suddenly, with no notice, have their bank account closed. And then it's like, okay, where can we send your funds now that we've closed your account? And of course, you haven't got a UK bank account anymore. So how do you do that? If they send you a check, what do you do with that check? And I didn't think of this. I'm gutted that I didn't think of this, but they were like, why don't you just use Wise? Because with Wise, you get a kind of virtual UK bank account. So you have you open it. What's that?
How can you pay a check into that though?
Oh, you wouldn't, but if you have a UK account, they could just wire the money to the UK account.
Oh, right.
And you wouldn't need to have the check.
Yeah.
So I mean, Wise has this fantastic functionality where you can open an account in Japan, but you can also get a UK sort code and account number that you can receive money to and send money from within the UK domestic banking system, even though you're not in the UK, and even if you don't have a UK bank. So it's incredibly useful. Yeah. And not a lot of people know about that. They mainly think of Wise as a transfer company, but I think those virtual accounts are really useful. So I've got a US virtual account as well. So I have a domestic US bank account, domestic UK bank account, incredibly useful.
All within Wise. I have the same thing, and I did some work for an Australian company. They said, we can only pay you in Australian dollars. No problem. I go into Wise. I set up a new Australian bank account. It's like a virtual bank account really within your main Wise account. And I just sent them the sort code or whatever it was from that, and boom, the money goes in. We are not sponsored by Wise, but
we're not. We'd like to be. I mean, I love Wise, so I've been a really happy Wise customer from the beginning. So from before they started here, I signed up and I was on the early access program to Wise, and I've never had one unpleasant experience with them. They've just been fantastic. So if you need to transfer money, if you need to use money abroad, you've got the Wise card now you can use as a debit card. Yeah, fantastic.
Can I go back to that thing about the bank account, UK bank account closing? Because it's really similar to experience just had with my wife. So we used to live in the UK, moved away, what was it? Maybe 10-ish, no, 15-ish years ago. And she still had one bank account in the UK, and it had some money in from a savings account, and she wanted to get out. And she still had access through the online thingy, but then they changed something, and I can't remember what the trigger was, but something changed so that, you can't access it anymore. You'll have to go and visit us in the branch in person to, reset your PIN or whatever it was. So, just come in when you're ready. And then I think it was just, you bring some ID with you just so that we know it's you. And we're not in the UK. So we phoned up. This was nationwide. Used to be a building society. I think it's a bank now. Anyway, it's nationwide in the UK. They were really, really good. And so you said that person didn't get any notice. Well, they did give us notice. They were very good on the phone. And we explained that we're not in the country. So, okay, no problem. We'll just wait for you to come back to the country. Then Corona happened. And then there was a letter saying, your bank account hasn't had any action. You haven't been into the branch. So we're going to suspend it. And we got the letter, I think, nearly a month after they sent it, because it went through my parents, who didn't realize that, to forward it and stuff. Thank you, my parents, if you're watching. They always forward that post to us. By the time we got it, it was like 2 days after they said they were going to suspend it. On the phone. And again, very, very helpful. They said, oh, okay, no problem. We'll keep it open for you. And we went back in November. One of the first things we did, we went to nationwide branch in person. They were still really nice. In the end, it was a lot of hassle because she changed her name because she got married to me, and then we had to prove this and that. And before we could close it, we had to change the address to the Japan address temporarily, change her name to her married name, then close the account, and then we got a check, which I could pay into my UK bank account. And it was, they said they could transfer, so we could have done a transfer to a Wise instead. But yeah, it was a lot of hassle. And it really helped being in the UK. I think by phone, we wouldn't have been able to do it.
That's nationwide for you.
Oh, are they generally good?
HSBC sent me a letter saying, we've closed your account. And I was like, what? With no notice whatsoever? Like, no, not even any notice. Not even, really? we're going to close your account. It's like, we've closed your account. I was like, oh, that's nice.
What?
Done.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting for NatWest, because I've had my NatWest account since I was 12. And I still use it. So I use it for my UK state pension contributions. I use it for a few charitable contributions. It's active, it's every month it's being used. So I'm hoping they won't close it. But there does seem to be a thing in the UK where banks are just unilaterally just closing non-resident accounts because of risk or whatever. They're not profitable enough, maybe.
Next thing they'll do, they'll ask you for your My Number card. They'll ask for your My Number card next.
Well, no, I've already given it to them. Like you have to register it with foreign bank accounts. So if you because they know I'm in Japan, so they said we need your tax identifier for Japan.
Okay, right.
So yeah, I sent it to them years ago. So
yeah, all right. Anyway, all that discussion is on the forum, so check out retirejapan.com/forum.
We got a bit sidetracked.
There is more, I think.
The titles for the rest. Yeah, so the next one's about investing in Canadian funds. So someone's trying to find the equivalent of Emax's Slim in Canada. There's a good discussion on there. There's a discussion about the announcement that the government's thinking of making university free for families that have 3 or more children.
Oh, I didn't know that.
People that like the idea, people that really don't like the idea. I had to mute some people on Twitter actually because I was getting a bit annoyed. There's this discourse, I think it's mainly in the US, where it's like, I didn't get that, so no one else should get it. Kind of, right. You know what I mean? Like, I paid for my kids to go to university, so why should anyone get it for free? And I don't really like that kind of attitude. It kind of annoys me. Like, I paid for my 3 stepkids to go to uni. But I still think it's a good idea to make it easier for larger families if we want to have larger families. So
yeah,
there's a good discussion on there though.
Wow.
There's a discussion about what day of the month is best to buy mutual funds, and apparently there are better and worse days. I don't know why, but that's an ongoing discussion.
I'm going to take a look at that.
There was a question about asking for recommendations of investing books in Italian. So if anyone can contribute to that discussion, please jump on. We had a really nice thread that someone very kindly started about asking for stories about Retire Japan.
Really?
And we had some really, really, really nice posts on there. So I was very, very pleased to read those. It is extremely gratifying.
Good. Let me put that in the chat as well. Yeah.
Someone posted a really interesting article from, I think it's the Wall Street Journal, about 85-year-olds in the US and how they live. And it was really interesting because I would have thought that most 85 and above year olds in the US would be in some kind of nursing home or something. But apparently a very small number of them are. So it's like 10-15% are in kind of nursing homes, and everyone else is kind of living independently, which is not what I expected at all. So really worth checking that out. Apparently there's some change in how you report dividends, which might complicate claiming back US withholding taxes on dividends. So I don't do this, so I'm not entirely sure what that's about. But if you do, you might want to check it out.
I wonder. So recently I've noticed the dividends I get, I have the Toku something.
Tokute Koza.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, where they automatically take the tax out for me. Nice and easy. And I'm sure it's gone up. It used to be some 21-ish%, and now it's about 25%. Right, but now they're taking 25%, and I can't work it out. Is it just me, or is it that something they've changed?
You're being punished. They're like, keep an eye on this one. He's dodgy.
But I don't remember seeing any kind of. I mean, I tend to keep an eye on.
Are these Japanese stocks or?
Yes, just regular mainstream like NTT and stuff. No, I don't understand it.
I would look into that. We can maybe talk about it in January when you can find out why.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, there hasn't been a change to the tax on dividends.
No.
So this thread is just about how it's reported and how that might impact if you try and claim back. Because basically, the US withholds 10% from dividends. It has a withholding tax because it's the US and it can do what it wants.
Yeah.
But because of the US-Japan tax treaty, you can claim that tax back from Japan. Because Japan charges you 20% and the US charges you 10%. You're paying 30%. But you can claim back the US tax as long as it's not in a NISA account. Because if it's in a NISA account, there's no Japanese tax to offset it against. So.
Yeah.
And then the last one is this really long thread about possible complications for non-Japanese residents when they try and sell real estate that they bought before 2012. So,
that's quite niche topic.
If you're in that category, do check it out.
Yeah. Wow.
And much more. You know, we have 31,000 posts on the forum, so there's a lot of content on there. Any kind of question you might think to ask, you can probably search for it and maybe find the answer.
It's very active and very supportive. Right, we're going to move on to questions and answers. And the first one we have, so thank you for being very patient. 2023 FTW for your comment. They say, what do you recommend Americans do with their money since iDeCo and NISA options aren't available? Or I think maybe they are available, but not practical.
Yeah, okay, so that's quite nuanced. So iDeCo, my understanding of iDeCo is that we're not sure whether it's okay or not for Americans. So it seems like it's a gray area. And my understanding is that the IRS has not actually explained whether it's okay or not. So iDeCo is, risky, I guess, to do, but might be okay. I don't know. We're hoping to talk to someone about that soon. So. And then the NISA. So NISA is fine. You can use NISA as an American. However, you probably shouldn't use it to buy mutual funds or ETFs in Japan. And because of how the US, it's basically a US rule, says that Japanese brokers, because of how they're registered with the US government, can't sell US stuff to US citizens. So that's not a Japan problem. It's the US government problem. So what that means in practice is that US citizens in Japan can only buy Japanese individual stocks from Japanese brokers. So you can use NISA. You can use the growth portion of NISA, the new NISA. So you can use 2.4 million yen a year to buy single Japanese stocks. Now, the problem is the US is not going to view that as tax exempt. So you'll have to pay tax on those investments to the US, but not to Japan. So for a lot of people, it's kind of like, well, I don't know if it's worth doing this. And so a lot of people are probably going to go through something like Interactive Brokers. So Interactive Brokers Japan can sell US investments to US citizens. So you can buy US ETFs, US stocks from them. Unfortunately, they haven't got NISA set up yet. So they might do in the future. So my advice would be, use a US broker if you have one already. If you don't have one, you can probably open Interactive Brokers Japan. If you're feeling adventurous, you can buy Japanese stocks in a NISA account. And you may or may not want to take a risk and use Ideco as an American. So it's a bit nuanced. So it's not quite, you can't use it, but it's like there's various degrees of risk and hassle involved in using it.
There are
Was
lots
that
of
helpful?
others.
Do you think,
It
Daniel?
sounded helpful to me as a non-American. But we get lots of people asking this. Lots of people gone through the same thing. So again, the forum is a good place if you want to get like real life examples of what people have actually done. Some of them
We
will
have
done
quite a
lot of
few
research.
Americans on the forum. So
Yes, yeah. I should have put that question on the screen. I forgot about that. Sorry. Whilst we're talking about NISA, actually, I noticed when I went to my SBI investment account, it now shows the allotment for next year, because I was wondering, and there may be other people too, this new NISA coming up, great. We're going to get 2.4 million allowance for regular stocks and things, and it's 1.2 for Tsumitate NISA, I think. All this sounds, what do I do? I've already got NISA. Do I have to sign up for the new version? Do I have to do something like press a switch to 2024 version? No, it's already up there, and it shows me my remaining 1,000 yen or something allowance for this year, and then here's my allowance for next year, and it looks like from 1st of January or whenever the stock market opens, it'll just be there ready for me to put money into. So
very cool.
Nice and easy.
Rakuten is showing that. Oh my god.
Ah, right, yeah. So
But
they're ready for
2024 Tsumitate NISA. So I guess they haven't quite updated their software enough.
the other one. Ah, okay.
Unless I've been restricted.
Yeah.
But so everything's automatic. So you don't have to sign up for the new NISA. It's just going to happen, or your broker will open it for you as long as you have an existing NISA account at the moment.
I'm in a bit of a dilemma actually, because there's some shares I want to buy, and do I get it now because I've got itchy feet, I can't wait, or do I wait until the new NISA allowance comes out? But then what if everybody suddenly first thing on the 3rd of January or whatever goes in and the prices will all go up? I don't know.
Well, I don't think there are enough NISA accounts. So that video that I reacted to, they had talking about the total number of NISA accounts. I think it was 15 million accounts like in 2020, and it's 18 million accounts in 2022.
That's not much more.
18 million is nothing. You know, the population's 126 million or something. So probably 100 million people could have a NISA account, but only 18% do.
Yeah.
And you've got to imagine that a lot of those accounts are dormant. They were opened and never used. So drop in the bucket.
Okay. I will wait till January then.
What would you buy it in taxable and then sell it and rebuy it in NISA or something?
Yes, I have done that. In a couple of times when it's dropped, I've just sold it and bought it in NISA again because I wouldn't be paying tax on it. Yeah. I just can't wait, basically. I'm impatient. Right, we have one more question from Isuru Subasinge. I hope I have you pronounced your name right. First of all, they say 20 plus years in Japan, and no doubt this is one of the best pages that I'm following in terms of like Retire Japan.
I love people saying nice things. Please, more people say nice things.
And they've also sent a question. So, originally from Sri Lanka, a permanent residency in Japan. Considering tax implications, would it be more advantageous to maintain permanent residency in Sri Lanka or pursue naturalization in Japan?
I think they meant Japan here. Yeah. So stay a PR in Japan or naturalize.
Oh, right, yeah.
I don't know what Sri Lanka does, so that's going to make the biggest difference, isn't it? Whether being a Sri Lankan citizen makes a difference to your taxes. In terms of Japan, I don't think there's much difference between PR and being a Japanese citizen. really. I mean, I'm thinking of naturalizing, but the main reason are personal ones. Like, I want to have a Japanese passport. I don't want to deal with, you're a foreigner, so you need to do whatever. And I want to vote, but there's not really an economic incentive for me. So the only people I think have an economic incentive to naturalize rather than be a permanent resident would be maybe Americans and people whose passports are not good for visa-free travel might want to get a Japanese passport because it's number 3 in the world for visa-free access to other countries.
Yeah.
I watched a really good video with people interviewing people who'd naturalized, and the Russians were saying, yeah, if I want to travel, I can't travel anywhere on a Russian passport. But now that I'm Japanese, I can go wherever I want. So that was the big motivation for them, I think.
Yeah.
But for Sri Lankan, I'm not sure. It depends what Sri Lanka does. So do they tax you? Do you have any kind of responsibilities based on being a Sri Lankan citizen or not?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We have another question here from Kai. And they say, do you think the lifetime 18 million yen allowance for NISA, the new NISA, will be raised in the future?
I really hope so. So the UK also has an ISA, which is the what they based NISA on. But the UK version is much better in one specific way, in that there isn't a lifetime allowance. So you get an annual allowance, and you can do that every year forever, and that's all tax-free forever as well. So I hope they'd get rid of the lifetime allowance, but Japan, the main issue is kind of political, I think. So the reason we don't have a junior NISA anymore is because it was seen as favoring wealthier families who could afford to invest on their kids' behalf. And so I think Komeito got rid of it. Basically, they said we're not going to support that. So that's why we don't have a junior NISA. And that's why I think it might be unlikely that they'll raise the lifetime limit, because 18 million yen in a NISA account is going to be enough for a normal retirement. So the argument would be normal people don't need more of that, and rich people don't need more tax breaks. So I'd love for them to get rid of it. I don't think they will.
Having said that, on the flip side, I wouldn't have expected them to increase the allowances to the extent they did for this coming year. That was a surprise to me. So they might spring a surprise.
I think this is Nenkin. This is Nenkin not being enough, and people needing 20 million yen to support their retirement and all that stuff. And that's what this is. This is basically, Nenkin's not going to do it for you. It's up to you. And here's a little incentive to do that.
Right. Okay.
But again, the problem is that only 18 million people have accounts. So the vast majority of the population don't understand NISA and don't have a NISA account. So
they're hoping the increase for next year is an incentive. Will it be enough though?
But the thing is, if people don't have accounts now, then increasing the limit isn't going to make them, you know what I mean? So for the government, it's limited utility to increase the limits, because it's just helping people like us who would just be investing normally.
Yeah.
And they'd rather we pay tax than not. So.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a probably not from Ben.
My prediction, which I'd be very happy to be wrong, but
a question here from Robert on Facebook. Do you invest for Retu? R-E-T-U?
Return?
Return. Through life insurance policies.
Hell no. So our standard kind of advice is get term life, which is cheap, and it's just life insurance. It doesn't have a investment component, and then invest the extra money normally in NISA or something similar. There could be an argument to, if you're already investing and you want to diversify, and therefore you take out a whole life insurance policy which has an investing component, but the returns are awful compared to what you'd get. Basically, you're paying the insurance company to invest on your behalf, and they're going to do so very conservatively because they have to guarantee that the money's going to be there. So they're not going to get much of a return on that money. Plus, they're going to take a chunk for doing it for you. So generally not recommended. But if you're already investing, or if you're, say, you've got a family that really doesn't want to invest and that's the only thing that they'll consider doing because they trust insurance companies, then it's probably better than nothing. But I personally wouldn't do it.
Yeah, same here. If I want insurance, I have got actually a cheap term life, a 10-year life insurance, and if I don't die within those 10 years, the money's gone. That's fine with me. And separately, I have my NISA and IDECO for investments. So yeah, keep the two separate.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation. Yeah, to do that.
Those are all the user questions. I have one of my own. Now, last time we spoke, you said you had 12. Well, we talked about you having 12 bank accounts. I was surprised, but then thinking about it, yeah, I have quite a few actually that I just forgotten about. I'm thinking, because now I'm actually changed jobs. I'm getting a salary from the US, and I'm putting it into Wise. But I've heard good things about SMBC Prestia account, and they seem to deal with foreign payments pretty well. But it costs 2,000 yen a month, I think it is. I haven't looked into details, but that's what I initially saw. Why would anyone pay for a bank account when there are so many free bank accounts? I mean, Shinsei Bank is free and that accepts foreign payments. So
yeah,
how
Sony as well. Sony's got a big
Oh.
push for foreign currency denominated accounts and transfers and so on. So
Right. So how can they charge money for a regular current account? Is there any benefit to that at all?
I'm not sure because I've never had a Prestia account. My impression is that, maybe you can go to a branch and get help. Maybe you'll have access to preferential home loans or something like that. Maybe.
Okay. Right, yeah.
They do have tiers like Shinsei does. So, if you've got X
Yeah.
amount in the bank or X amount invested with them, you get, your fees waived or you get preferential exchange rates. So I'm not entirely sure. I wouldn't have thought normal people would get much of a benefit from it. But if you're a high earner, they might have some kind of special service for you.
Yeah.
Might be worth looking into.
Yeah,
But,
I should look on the forums as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a Shinsei account. I've got some local bank accounts. I've got a Sony account that I don't really use very much. Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with Shinsei. To receive money from abroad, it's been very smooth. And Wise, of course, should be pretty seamless. Although you can't keep the money in Wise. So you can receive it in Wise and then you've got to move it somewhere else, I guess.
There's a limit. I think it's 1 million yen. You're not allowed
For
to
a month,
that
isn't it?
anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. I think we've come to the end of all our questions, and yeah, that's a lot.
Awesome. I enjoyed this episode. It was great talking to Simran. Hopefully our little rant wasn't too boring.
Right. Well, I'm gonna.
And it's the end of the year, so
finish
look
off
at you
with a bit of birthday cake. Actually, here, look at this birthday cake with gold leaf on it. Ha ha. So yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right, this is our last Retired Japan TV of the year. So Happy New Year, everyone. Have a good one.
Do we know when we're back in January?
Yeah, we'll be back on January 22nd. And
Monday
we're going to be talking to Martin, I think, from Smart Money Asia. And that's going to be really interesting because he's a bit of a Bitcoin and cryptocurrency fanboy. And I'm very skeptical about those things. So it should be quite a good discussion. So join us on January 22nd, same time, 8 p.m. We'll be back here, probably without the Santa hats. And have a great end of the year. Enjoy your holidays and whatever traditions you do. Feel free to leave a comment if you have an interesting Christmas tradition or a New Year tradition or any other kind of holiday tradition. And have a good one. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. See you next year.
Goodbye.